Welcome everyone to the 19th One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace for Tuesday, November 28th, 2017. And once again, we're gathered under the umbrella of the ethos of peace. We have the saying, we are here to serve and not to be served. And we will be again guided by Mr. Keshe and Caroline today. I believe one or both of them are ready to go with today's teaching and session. Hello, Mr. Keshe or Caroline, are you there?
I think we are both present.
Good.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. I know you got some nice videos lined up for us for the more understanding the beauty of Tom's work, what he has been achieving in the islands. Unfortunately, he cannot be with us from the start because he said, I have teaching, I cannot appear straight away. I said, okay, we're going to use one of your videos. And he promised he will walk in later in the teachings. So if Rick can share parts of his work, it would be very nice. Thank you, Rick.
Okay, to begin with here, we have a picture of Tom's mother's garden area, and that'll be the main focus of this video. So I'll play the video and then we can have a look at
I also need to give you some extra information, Rick. This is not a small garden. This is 1 hectare in size.
Okay, yeah. Caroline, can you maybe get a bit closer to the microphone? It sounds a bit far away there.
I think I need to switch side. I think I have connected it wrongly. I'm on my headset. That's most probably why it's confusing. Is it better now?
Try again.
Is it better now?
No, it seems about the same. We can hear you, but it sounds a bit distant, like it's not hooked up or something. Maybe you have to select it in Zoom or select it on your... Oh, something just hooked up.
Is that better?
Yes, that's much louder. Thank you.
Headsets don't seem to work for me very well.
Yeah.
Headsets don't seem to work very well for me. I just wanted to give you additional information that this is not a small garden. It is 1 hectare in size. And everywhere it has kept the same beauty. Thank you, Rick.
Okay, I'll play the video then. We'll see parts of the garden and so on. So let me get that set up here. You can see at the beginning of the video here that Tom has set up a drawing with to scale of his mother's home area, and this is in Dominica, and this is where a major hurricane came through and destroyed most of the island, basically, and including most of the plants of the island had their leaves and they were uprooted and so on, just torn off. Okay, let's play the video. Tom will explain it all.
My little house shack that got blown down, and kind of over there is the other shack that got blown down. So we feel that there was like a ring of, let's call it a ring of oasis around the house of a couple of
Okay, we can see, just get my screen arranged here. We can see pretty much the results of what happened in Tom's mother's place in Dominica. And as I mentioned, this was the results of a hurricane, but yet the area where this plasma oasis apparently was seemed to be protected. And we can put up the diagram of the diagram that Tom made about that. There it is. And you can see that around his mother's home, he drew a inner ring and outer ring of the plasma, what he calls the plasma oasis. So the inner circle would be around the home up to the yellow circle we see, which is the outer ring. And he indicates the sheds in two different places that were, one shed is intact and one shed was destroyed, and indicates the places where the flowers are and the border of the entire land. Okay, and we can show, he shows a couple of pictures that I can also show here of the plants that remained and actually seemed to thrive quite well. And you can see the main garden area, which is quite prolific, and it doesn't look like any plants were hurt at all in the hurricane, contrary to the lands around this area, which were very much devastated. Virtually all the leaves and limbs ripped off the plants. And we can see there's a picture here of his mother in her place here. That this is a place that Tom built, I believe it was last year, out of his stucco, special kind of stucco technique that he uses. Makes the buildings very durable. What else do we have? See, there was I think there's three other pictures that Tom sent recently. This is a picture of his, let me share it differently so it looks better. Of the view from the property. And you can see the devastation in the background. He mentioned that normally these mountains and the lands in front of the mountains would be very green, but we can see it's quite brown from the trees that have been torn down and the leaves ripped off. And we can definitely see the signs of life in Tom's area. You see flowers like this that have just bloomed. You know that they're quite happy. And another sign of life. Apparently the cat is also quite happy in the plasma oasis. Okay, is there any comments about that or any additional information that you want to relay about that? Hello, Caroline, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Can you hear me, Rick?
Not too well, it's muffled.
Just wait, I'll change my microphone. Just let me
Okay.
reposition. Let me reposition. It's my. Is that better now?
Oh, much better, yeah, we can hear you
Oh,
fine.
I'm sorry. I had to change headset because the other one is something wrong with the microphone. And it is to understand for a lot of people the difference. What has happened there, and Carrie has is going through her, how can we say, her memory bank. She said, I have witnessed the same thing, but I could never link it up. So she's gathering the information for maybe next time to show that it does work. It does magnify. It does create what your intent is. And this is the guidance for people. And now Tom is more, you know, loaded up with the wow beauty he has created, what he has achieved. It was a big surprise to him as well. And I asked him, I said, darling, do you realize what you have achieved and what you can show? And we are all witnessing the beauty and the difference. I said, I think those pictures don't need no explanation. And I hope if he comes in later, Rick, ask him the question. You know, he's been building the villages, he's been constructing houses with the locals, but on a different platform. Ask him if they have seen the same beauty there as well. Because I still see them building and constructing these like dome houses. If they have achieved the same as what he has achieved in his garden with his mom, it would be nice to have some confirmation on that. So if he turns up later on, it will be very nice. I'm gonna have to hand over to you and Mr. Kesh because I'm gonna have to leave the meeting, and I'll see you all later. I will stay
Okay,
online as long as I can, but I have too much noise. You won't be able to hear me correctly.
okay, very good,
See you
Caroline,
later.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Okay, is Mr. Kesh available, or are you available there, Mr. Kesh, or have something you'd like to say? Does anybody else have any comments about the?
I am a silent listener today.
Hello, Mr. Kesh.
Yeah.
Oh no, Rick, you don't give him that chance.
This is amazing, and in so many ways we have to ask him how far the boundary of the gas is spread, and in so many ways it proves a lot of facts for us, that we are not dealing with a matter state, we are dealing with a field state. But what is strange is how the fields have negotiated the storm. In a way, this is a shielding effect, and this is why Tom is there, looking at it as a very much a shielding effect, a greenhouse effect, with the ability to shield, because it's very clear line distinction between all the boundaries. In the coming days, we have to ask if we can have a aerial picture of this taken, if Tom can organize somehow, somewhere we get an aerial picture, we get a very good clear indication. We are doing something in a much smaller scale in a mango farm in Accra, and you will see the result of that one most probably in the next 3 months, 6 months. But if this is the condition which we can gain, what we need to do is to more or less make a data sheet of what has been used, how it's been used, that this can be done this year in number of the islands in Caribbean where the Keshe Foundation support is. And we know for a fact in the next 3 years, 5 years, these islands will be facing one of these hurricanes, or they might go through it or be brushed by it. And we'll see what it'll be if he repeats in all the islands the same. This is not strange, this is something which we expect, but we don't understand how he's done it, that he's reached it. But we got to see what comes up. If we look at it, why only this area where we see everything else is stripped off? It cannot be that the winds gone through negotiated. It must be a shielding effect which reduces the wind. This is quite highly possible, and you've got to realize if you this test in a wind tunnel, you won't get the same result. But if you do it in a natural wind condition like a storm, this is quite possible that what is being achieved is a shielding resistance. No more. I mean, the house is still seeing the wind, but in so many ways, the, if you want to call it, magnetosphere of the plant or the ground has been raised, let's say by maybe 10, 20 meters. We produce machines which do these kind of things, a noise barrier, a noise shielding effect. And In a way, you still hear the noise, but it changes a lot of effects of the magnetic field of the Earth in reducing the noise, and in so many ways changes the atmosphere of the house. And we've been running tests like this for about 3 years ago, for about a year, and we've seen the results of it, and we're running one now, which is amazing enough. The first day we've seen high absorption energy and repulsion of energies. The picture speaks for itself. There is nothing we need to do. There is nothing need to be explained. But what would have been nice to see, if you could have been recorded how these leaves swung in the wind. How did they tolerate the wind? Was it a different type of wind going near the house than further out? Or was it the same hurricane passing the house? We need an observer or observation from someone who has seen it. Was it like a storm 200 meters away, and near the house was different kind of wind structure? And we see this is the same hill, the same area, and there is nothing left. Everything is stripped. Everything is gone. These trees, most probably, most of them will die or bring shoots out in a different way. But what is the strangest? Suddenly, platform changes at a certain boundary. Very strange. The house is not touched. So it means there is a shield effect. 100% there is a shield effect. But we have to understand who the people or the mother was at home, what they saw happen in this area.
Mehran, may I give you additional information?
Yeah.
She did not stay home. She was too scared. She went into shelter, so there was nobody around. So we have no eyewitness how things evolved in this garden and around the house. She only came back to find it in this state. That's where the amazement came from. So next time, Tom and her know that
You
they
see,
can stay.
we don't see any debris as such. There is no broken, what do you call it, branches. Wind hasn't gone through the house. The wind hasn't gone through the field. It's exactly the same shielding we have in the house ourselves. In so many ways, it's the same process, but in a different way it's been done and what has been put in. We know historically South Americans, villages which were in hills, where had a different environment than the others. In a way, you can reduce the temperature of the winter, I mean warmer, and you can stop, they could stand not such a high heat. The humidity was created. The South American villages are in that position. They've been using, in a very different way, nanotechnology for years. We know that for a fact, and I run an experiment on it. It's proven to be 100% correct. And everybody else can do it. One of the ways you can change the environment, the atmosphere of the garden, is literally, if you have places shadowy which nothing grows, and you have a land which you want to make it green, if you live in an environment where you burn wood, ashes, barbecues you make, with wood, with real wood. Mix the ash with very, very small amount of salt, very small amount of salt, and cover the ground with it. And every now and then just add a little bit of salt to the very, very, very slight amount of salt to the charcoal. You'll find out the ground will change, the environment of the ground will change, and things will grow where never grown before, and actually they go wild. The people of South America have used this, they realized this centuries ago. And they should literally burn wood to make farming land. In South American villages, we see black land, which has been created by layers and layers of wood, burned charcoal. And it's a fertile ground, but they used to add some salt to it. And you get to get things growing which could never grow. It's impossibility to grow. It changes the environment. It's very much now what we know as nanotechnology. We know as condition of creating nanotechnology, where there was moisture and there was some salt. It created very liquid gas. Now we understand the whole process. And these environments, because of the condition they created, they absorbed moisture from the environment continuously. So they were fertile, even though it was in dry areas. This, we understand very clearly what has happened here. But it's the knowledge which we seen in China in very first teachings when the Chinese used to join us. They showed us creates a different environment with the Chinese cabbage, Chinese leaves. If you go back into the teachings, I don't know, very, very earlier on, the Chinese used to present a lot of teaching, a lot of new material. And this was one of them. We've seen this the same. Caroline and I, we explained this before. We ran a test with Dilla, the herb, and we saw it going throughout the winter outside in the garden, and still was there till March. And we all know Dilla literally dies of frost. And this is very interesting to see. There's a number of things which we understand. This is not, as I said, wind going through and leaves standing. This is a dome effect. This is what we said even in the agricultural teaching. When you put a gun somewhere and you put another bed to it, it transfers, covers the field. You have to go 100, 200 meters away to test to see the same effect of the GANs and non-GANs. And we see it this way very clearly. We know 200 meters is the range of the GANs and affects its environment. We know this for quite some times, it's nothing new, but now this is a physical confirmation of it. And it's a dome, it's not anything else, it just creates a different atmospheric condition. And but we have to realize there are those, even in the Keshe Foundation, I know in the other island which they got hit, they want to create machines which will move the hurricane and will move and change things. We cannot do this. We cannot do this. We have to allow nature to take its course, and we create conditions for us that we stay protected. Because in a way, we cannot, with new technology, interfere into the work of the planet, because then we'll see other side effects. We see worse effects some other places. In a way, we move our damages to next to neighbor islands. And this is the way it stands. We interfere with the nature, nature will show itself in a very horrible way somewhere else. And they say we didn't have this condition here. We've seen this especially with the islands which are building in Persian Gulf. The Palm in Dubai and the new the continents are building, they are showing huge damages in the Persian Gulf because they have changed the environment. We've seen the same thing in the 7 dams in China. It's not just the water and the villages, the atmosphere of the area changes. Because one thing we got to realize, the seas, the oceans work on a given pattern, very much like the magnets we saw on the table a few weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago with Rick. You create a new condition, they have to go around it, so they create another condition somewhere else. And these are the things which we clearly understand now fully, that with this plasma technology, there are people who want to interfere with the nature, and you cannot do. You can protect like this your houses or whatever, but in the long run we can cover small areas, that we protect people, we protect citizens, we protect agricultural land, but over a certain area, over that, it's impossible. Then we interfere in a different way, and this will be drastic for the whole structure of the rest of the continents and the oceans. We become influencing the whole thing. I gave a talk to a couple of people recently. The application of the GANS technology, the way we see it, the GANS waters, if is not in a way understood, it'll be very, very drastically changing the atmosphere of this planet. Because we are creating satellite magnetic fields which they infect the Earth planet, the magnetic field of the Earth performance or its passage. The Earth will pass through, the fields will go through, but now we create curvatures on it. We enforce new conditions on it. And this will create new environmental condition. Because, as I explained before in private teachings to some scientists, it's very much, if you put, let's say, another 10, 20 patches of land like this next to each other, or we cover islands like this that the hurricane will have a bypass, the magnetic gravitational field of the Earth becomes like a nozzle, you close it. It'll come out in the periphery with much, much stronger field. These are the realities. We can't close our eyes. It's fantastic to see this, but we have to understand with this new technology, we directly interact and create motion of the fields of the planet. This is the absolute reality. We cannot ignore it. And I've done this, I've tested this over years. And if you go to places like the Space Center we test in Arizona, we understand this fully, because if you go to the recordings, maybe you hear it, we wash the floor, the area of the testing, with gas of CO2. We wash the tables with gases like CO2 to create a magnetic shield effect from the planet. And this, what we see, is a clear way of it in a natural way. And we do interact. It's not that we block it, we interact and create a new field strength to pass through. It's not as you blanket it, you homogenize it. You spread it and you dictate the what you call the SIF effect. We see these quite, we'll see people around the world where you use the gases and they use these things. We'll report more and more. We see farmers are reporting. We see fishermen are reporting. We see people who are in agriculture are reporting. We see people who, there are some reports, people in Keshe Foundation supporters who live in high-rise apartments are seeing some effect. These are the things which over time we will show. But Carol and I, we've been using systems to create as effect as you see around our house for some times now. But it's beautiful to see what is here. What I would like to ask the Keshe Foundation supporters, it's very, very important. Those of you who live in areas where you have put gases, like in a growing beds in the houses or in the garden, can you monitor the winter operation of it? If the snow melts at the same rate as the other places, if the ice and the frost, defrost or works the same, because we're talking to Caroline this morning, she says after 3-4 days the effect will go, but we want to know how deep it is and how it is. What about if we place nano plates on the nano coated plates in the garden? We know Brazilians done this with a lot of effect. Would we change the environment of it? And these are part of the structure of curvature of learning, but this will affect. We don't need to help, or do we need to help in disaster areas? I go one step further in so many ways. There is a possibility, there is a huge possibility which time will tell us. We know huge amount of gases has been used around Fukushima and is getting used in different shape or form. If these will affect the magnetic field flow and earthquake patterns in this area, we're watching it, keeping an eye on this movement. Because if it releases fields from internal layers, will create a different push in the continental plates. In a way, it empties the planet from the fields which are pushing back, or what I call the magma field forces. It's very interesting to watch. Sorry about that. Carry on. Is there anything new?
Well, I think that pretty much covers it with Tom Salas with his latest information until till we actually hear from Tom, which he may come in at any time here to give us additional information. I'm not sure how to progress from here. We have
nothing. The Tuesday evenings has put in for the interaction of the people, or what I call public, with the councils, with the three councils, the core members, the Earth Council and Universal Council, and in what is and how they expect to interact with the population, with public. What are the gifts they can bring like this on the table? Where can be effective? Where they see a positive move to be done? More than anything else, the Tuesday afternoons was agreed to come in to the way it has been done, to be a line of communication between public, the wishes of the public, and members of the councils. What are the listeners are asking for? What is their positive wishes? In a wish, not in a wish, what they see, where the strength of the councils have to be used to bring that positive change in. We see with Tom, we saw with Paul, and then it disappeared. We don't want to hear news that in Marama they're doing this or that. We want to see what we can add to it, that it can bring the change. It can bring a positive change. Are there anyone who can bring a positive move on the table, who can tell us what they think, what has happened, what their wish is? Not a wish, what we have to put from our energy of our thoughts and our souls to change, or to bring a positive change. This is the platform which is brought in, and what we want to promote. I brought on the table what I see as a problem or solving in respect to the future of Middle East and the future of what we saw happen in the earthquake in Iran-Iraq border. We're coming to the season of earthquakes for next 30 days, and then it shuts down after February or somewhere before mid-January till the next cycle. But where can we go? What can we bring than just my wishes? There are a lot of positive things we can do. There is a lot of positive things. One of the ways we can and we should be able to help is to eradicate hunger. Is to using the new technology to create fields to the extent that we can eradicate hunger. With the dynamic systems, with the new systems where we can wish. How many of you have tried to bring into work what has been taught on Thursdays? How many of you have tried to extend your field to cover the person who could be sick next to you? How many of you have moved been to the hospital and sat next to someone and extend the boundary of your soul that they could take from your soul and see the recovery the way they want, not what you want to force? It's like taking a glass of water to a sick man on the bed. Would he take it? Would he drink from it? You have provided it. But this time is done through the soul of the man. How many of you can walk on the street and see the face of people changes? Because the extent what you have gained to them without unknowingly, you have changed their field and their strength and their emotion. I think Keshe Foundation supporters and people who listen have forgotten about what power they carry, or they haven't realized what power they carry. Because we change the society, we got to change that. How many of you have passed house and you've seen it, or you can bring pleasure to the people or give enough to them that they change? The time of Christmas is coming. How many of you can give a gift of soul and not a box? This morning I was in a hotel and they were putting Christmas boxes under the trees, ready for the hotel for Christmas parties or whatever they have. And I looked at them, big boxes, small boxes, and I said, I wish I could fill them with my wish. I wish I could fill them with my soul, that whoever opens it receives whatever was their wish. Whatever the soul needs. How many of us have managed to get to that point? How many of you come to that point? In a way, how much trust is in us that we can give from what is us unconditionally, not worrying, but seeing it but received by somebody else. Any thoughts? Anyone who wants to change something?
Well, Mr. Keshe, I had a question regarding that. What about those beings that have passed in, especially in a traumatic way, perhaps by a terrorist action or something like that? There was a case that came up in particular with over 300 Sufi worshippers that had gotten killed by some terrorists. Now, in that situation, when we hear about something like that, when it comes to our attention, can we give from our soul to those that have passed in that situation to help them have a better transition, or to allow them to take from us what we need? You mentioned one time when you passed a funeral procession. There was and you gave from your soul to that being that was in the casket, I think it was.
I do that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
All the time when I see what I call a hearse, we call it in English.
Mm-hmm.
I always say, take what it is that you find peace, because I know a lot of souls still separate, but they still have, they need to be elevated. But mainly in these conditions, I saw the pictures. I don't know, accidentally it came in. I was working on the internet, searching for something, and I saw the pictures of the bombing in what do you call it, in Egypt. And I did not look at the pictures. I did not look at the, I know there were both things. I looked at the people sitting around, and in so many ways, I automatically give from my soul, because them, they need. They need so much, because it's like part of you is pulled further to give. It's like the magnets, our soul and their soul is like magnets. It's not there, it moves further distance. You have to give more to be with or get to give from them or have a link with them. Um, this what I call, it's become a fashion now. Killing in the name of whatever. They call it God, they call it belief, they call it whatever. And we see it in different countries with a bomb, we see it in different countries with a gun, we see it in different countries with different kind of mayhem. As we know, a lot of it is made up to create and a lot of it is real. I know the devastation these things create, and I know the misery they bring. And I've seen the 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 damage they do, psychological damage they do. But you can give, the only thing is openness for it to be taken. In a way, openness of the soul, that you link and they can take, and to reduce the suffering. We can give a lot, we can do a lot. We can look, we look. The beauty of it is now, the picture carries the frame, but in a way the picture carries the fields of the person. It's so easy if people understand. When you take a picture, it's like, as I said the other day, you're having a magnet, you take part of that magnet and you can link through that magnet to where the main is. We see pictures, we see pain, but understand the picture is matter state and he has absorbed and is holding fields of an entity. Doesn't matter how you call it, because even to capture a picture on a paper, you carry the fields of that person which is in there. So it's easier nowadays to give to, or to open the channels or open the soul of the man for it to be targeted. It's so easy. It's amazing if you realize how it is. Some 30 odd years, we've seen this world leader literally ripping everything apart in part of Africa. And 2-3 weeks ago, I just wished, I said, when this is going to happen, it's time for it to go. It's time for a change, that these people stop suffering. And when I saw it going, I said, oh, many governments tried, many people tried. It wasn't my wish. And I ask it to be so peaceful transition. No more what we've seen in Africa, killing, murdering, one president goes, riots. Such a smooth transition, not a single bullet. And when I heard it, I said, bravo, chapeau. I don't have doubt in what we can do. I have a lot of strength in my way of doing it, and it's in so many ways. All of us can do it. Every single one of us has this power. It's just that we have to see something to believe in it, but we don't understand that in believing, we do it. It's a big difference. The emphasis on the man always has been that show me, I believe you. It has to be, I believe you, show me. It'll change a lot of things. And we'll see changes. I have given a lot of support, a lot of understanding to President Xi of China. He has absolute access to anything he wishes. The same with President Putin of Russia, because man of peace needs support. And we see them one after another. Not a single bullet fired. They're winning everywhere. And people around the foundation, they know it's been on for 2 years, because you know the soul of the man and you create a condition. Except Middle East, which the British and the French have created their own colonies and they play their own little games. You look at across the world, wherever China sits is totally peaceful. Wherever British are, there is a war. Without failure. British and the French governments has been, because we never understood the structure of the British government. No one understands the British government structure or British system than a few people, unless you've been brought up in the British system. In the elite society you've been in touch with and you understand, they've explained to you and you understand it because you see the explanation to be correct. We need to support, a lot of people need, because it's so much pain in that country, to support the British monarchy. To elevate the soul of British monarchy, that we don't, that we change things internally from theirs. I've explained this before, you understand why and how things happen. The British has two governments. Those of you who understand. We have a monarchy government and we have an elected government. Elected government is in the hand of people, which is controlled by monarchy government. And anything which the people, the subjects of monarchy makes, is for people. What the monarchy has made over centuries belongs to monarchy, not to the people. But people work to feed the monarchy. And this monarchy extends to United States. United States is the only colony which has not been freed. What this means, you have 51 Commonwealth countries. You have Britain with the extension of the colony of United States. The white Americans are subject of the Queen. They have not received their freedom. And they are part of the assets of the monarchy. That's why British government, American government are separate. But America is considered as part of the British monarchy. This is why when you see they plan wars like in Iraq, British move to the oil fields where the money is, and American fights in the places where the debt is. Those are the soldiers to protect monarchy can take the money out, which is the oil. We've seen in the situation in Libya. The Americans and very few British moved in, create mayhem wars, and the central bank was emptied by the monarchy and it was moved back into London. Is not part of the assets of the British government, is part of the assets of the monarchy. And monarchy does not need to explain what he owns, what he has. Because listen to the speeches of the Queen. She says, my subjects. So we see most of the wars around the world, set up by monarchy, carried out by subjects. So you don't need to pray for or give to or elevate the soul of the British Prime Minister, because he has no say, he's just a tax collector. We don't see British policy changes every time the government changes. British policy made by monarchy is 100, 200 years ahead. They plan in advance who is going to be there, what they're going to do, and what it is, and what it needs to bring. The same. So if you understand you want to elevate to end peace, you look for the royal family of Britain to elevate their souls. Plus the Privy Council, which sits as part of the government. The Privy Council is the most powerful government in the world, which sits next to the Queen of England. They govern. So the advice, and the Queen carries out their advice, so it means they are governors. Now, do you want to elevate the soul of the Prime Minister, or the master that orders the Prime Minister what to have to wear? You want peace? Look at British monarchy and elevate their souls. You want peace? Look at the French monarchy, which at the moment very powerful underneath is operating. Then you have two families which they need a lot of support in their souls, which organize most of the wars, which British monarchy organizes the public figure of it. In a way, British monarchy is part of the structure of what they call world governments, but European world governments, and a lot of people don't understand this, which goes back into the Rothschilds, which goes back into the knowledge which was brought in and was gifted for the peace of man, but it was used a different way. Now, who do you want to raise the soul of that will find peace in the world? You got to think. We need to not think about just hurricanes and earthquakes, but in so many ways we change the condition through our wishes with what we give and what we have to do. We march with our fields into peace, not by our foot in the streets, which gets nowhere. This is what I was explaining very recently. This is a Trojan horse, which they have nothing to stop. Nor the British royal family, nor the French, nor the others who are sitting on the same table. They have calculated everything except that their souls and their emotion can be touched. And now we can touch. Not to damage, but to elevate. And the thing is, they all want to be elevated. The peace is coming so beautifully up that it needs us to trust in what we do, and you'll see, oh, the changes came, it's becoming peaceful because it's coming wishes of us, and the systems which we build strengthen us and we strengthen them. This is the beauty of what is happening, and I'm watching it and I enjoy every second of it. Because there's an old British advertising about the brand of lager. It says, such a lager reaches the part that no other lager can reach. Those who are British, they understand it. They know what I'm talking about. And we have developed this knowledge of our own soul, which is us. We want to give, they can't stop us. And we are so generous with it to give, and they have no other way to stop it. They cannot, because they have the weakness and the soul links into it. And what I call the Trojan horse of souls, we are planting very, very strongly across Europe and the rest of the world. You will see it. The wars, the number of wars, number of conflicts will reduce, and with it will come the rest. Because these people they get busy with something else. Because they realize, without them knowing, they do things they don't understand. And we've seen some big mistakes by these people with things which they not ever used to do. Now they're getting involved to do, and they themselves don't know why. In past 6-12 months, they start doing funny things. And it's becoming a disease. Very soon it'll become more, you will hear more of it. It's the beauty of it. I have planted in all of you a seed which you cannot stop watering it. You cannot stop its growth. And the seed of love and giving. And the seed of understanding that love and giving come from your soul. And because they have a soul, you got them. It's such a checkmate that nor the queen nor the king on the board ever realized they were checkmated without any soldiers on the board. You watch. I don't wish, when I say I see the end of a monarchy, is not, if they're done wrong, they'll see their own time. But what will be interesting is how many of them will start walking off. Many, many of them. I have targeted British monarchy to reach the level of presidency. Very soon you'll see. My soul, my effort goes to British monarchy and what I call Privy Council. You watch. Join me in it. You stop 500 of wars, 500 years, so many people have died. I used to have a friend, what I call somebody I learned a lot from, and I've told this before. His name was Bill Cramant. You can check it on British Lord Cramant. Bank of Scotland, Royal Bank of Scotland, not, but Bank of Scotland. I came across Bill when I was very young, and I learned a lot from him where the money sits. He taught me a lot. And he showed me a lot. There is more gold in the backing of the British monarchy than most probably anybody could imagine. Is not accountable, is only accountable to the Queen what is kept. The problem is, making gold now will become very easy. I was hoping that by Christmas we give you a gift, but maybe next year you'll have a gift for Christmas. You can give anyone a machine that they can produce gold. A gold machine will become as common as anything else. I want to know who is going to finance more wars for gold. Listen to the teaching on Thursday. I might teach you something very nice about gold. I'm thinking about it. I always said when I teach to one, I teach to the others. And this morning I taught a brilliant mind in plasma technology, how he has made gold and he could not see. And for the first time I explained to him that how gold was created on this planet and how easily you can do it. So, as usual, when I learn, I teach you how we have to be. So, elevate the soul of those that you do not understand what pain they will go through, that they killed so many to have so much gold, and now everybody has a gold, and their gold has no value. I think the machine will cost less than $150, maybe less, but we'll sell it at good price because people love to have gold. Because the money goes back into helping those who actually needs gold hard to be able to give, to be there to support. Now, my wish is support those who brought more pain onto humanity in past centuries, that it elevates their soul, that they don't see any reason to make wars. Very interesting. A few restless nights. You'll be amazed the people who listen to these teachings and to these programs. Now they know how we got into them. I was told very recently the Rothschild family, the heads, are listening to all the recent teachings, because in their documents and in their books they were taught something centuries ago and they could not unravel it, and they think through the Keshe Foundation technology, what we discuss now regarding the soul and conversion, they'll be able to reach it first, that they can carry on with their domination. But unfortunately, all of us will receive it at the same time. Nobody can dominate no one. I'll read you something if I can find it, what I wrote this morning to one of the brilliant brains of Keshe Foundation, what I call knowledge seekers. And I read it, let me just find it. I'm looking at the text, the let me read it. It's a beautiful, I enjoy working with this man. Just let me read it for you. I was with him 3 o'clock this morning, 4 o'clock this morning. think he's on the line. Just before I come, he was online with me. I asked him to close his lab. He's finished because I'll read it to you. I have never taught this to no one, and now you come and teach to everyone. Yes. Water, you have changed the water into gold. Now walk away from this and live man's life and keep the secret of ancient time. You have seen the wisdom of creation. So we have seen for the first time one of our Keshe Foundation's knowledge seekers, true knowledge seeker, has managed to achieve it. And I explained for the first time that how I can't even say if I could read it. This guy has listened to what I explained and he has followed it, and but he does not understand how he's done it. And in so many ways, you can make gold out of water if you know how. And he's achieved it. What we did in Fukushima, we transferred gold into water. Now he's achieved to do it, and he could not see it. I wrote to him, redo the test and see if you learn anything or missed anything. Then I check. Then we both walk away from each other, and you have to decide what you want to be, a rich man of gold or a man of peace like us. We are masters of universe and we love to teach. We are masters of the universe and we love to teach. And we find souls like you, we teach everything. So we see the elevation of the soul of the man has brought huge teaching forward. I asked him to join us in the background. He's there, he knows who he is. I wrote to him, you have now gold, understand it. Then I teach you how to convert it to solid gold and get paid for it. If you are a man of gold, then all education is lost and become nothing. The secret is detachment, like me. I know this knowledge for thousands of years. I see no value in gold. Gold has no value. The knowledge you gain today is real gold, not the gold you made. This is a death in the coffin of monarchies who kill for gold. And strange enough, is made by a very simple man. By a very, very simple man who has no knowledge of science. So my soul, my praise, my peace, my wish, my giving, or in so many ways my love for humanity is to see, to elevate the soul of the monarchists in England, in France, and those who work with them, and they thought they found the secret. Actually, the way the gold is made, this process, is the key to transportation in the universe. So we have achieved the first steps of creation of what we were hoping as a fuel. I hope I brought you a good wish. I wish all of you make gold, that by making it, gold will have no value. But ask yourself one question. Can you eat this gold? It can give you the energy to survive. The gold we have created as a GANs will nourish every soul of the man. Every single cell, soul, physical, and through it you can elevate the soul of the man itself. Yes, with this you can eat the gold. This is the only gold which we can eat, because it has the strength that it bypasses or superpasses the level of the emotion of the man. Maybe you have a Christmas gift, you never know. I said to Caroline, I'm not teaching on Tuesdays. I do enough on Thursdays now. She's like sitting in the background watching it. Any other wishes? Any other gifts?
Well, I expect there'll be lots of people trying to make GANs of gold now.
This one thing is not made by gold. That's
Well,
your biggest secret.
I thought you might say that, so maybe you should give us some direction, because lots of people will be grinding up their dead aunt's jewelry and turning it into some kind of GANs that they'll be drinking. So we have to sort of give some guidelines, perhaps, where people might put their attention.
No.
Just
This
no.
ride is not a free, easy ride, huh?
Well, it never has been, but but that doesn't mean we can't get a little bit of a hint here and there, which you do give.
Put it this way.
You don't, but I'm just trying
Put
to.
it this way. If you understand the process, how gold is created, and why we have gold on this planet, and why gold is soft. Then you will find out a lot of answers very quickly. The gold which we live through and is part of the last layers of supporting fields of holding, containing the soul of the man, when the scientists understand what I'm talking about, is actually created totally in a different way than we ever knew. And in so many ways, if the scientists understand and comprehend the strength of gold as a magnetic field strength, is actually water, but a specific kind of water. That's why we are attached to it. That's why it's not only the first metal we found, it has meaning to us. This first thing we could manipulate because it appeared as a independent metal. We didn't need to melt a stone to get a steel or whatever we do with others. Gold is one of those things which primarily is in pieces on its own. And nobody has asked a question, why? Why do we find nuggets of gold? Why do we find pieces of gold? Now we find leaps of gold in water with a new process. But these are all in the magnetic gravitational field strength. And nobody has asked a question. Nobody sat and asked a single question. How come we don't find pieces of lead or pieces of iron which is ready to be shaped? But we find gold. But it has a common denominator. We find diamond the same way. So the two have to have a common denominator somewhere. And both gold and diamond come from literally, essentially, hydrogen. An interaction with the gravitational field of it, which is water. So maybe we understand why we have attachment to it, because it's part of the structure of our life. That's why we find gold in the body of the man too. There is a logical sequence in a lot of things that those who have a scientific mind or understanding of. Every element we find on this planet, every element, you name it, we find in the body of the man, in the Ganser state. From plutonium to uranium to gold to silver, we all have a certain measure of it in the Ganser state. So we already have it. We have to understand how and what it does, and what benefit it has, and what does it create. So wish for gold, you will eat gold, you have the energy of it, and it sorts so many things out. It very much sits on the same line as what we understand with silver. But gold and carbon are created out of the water of this planet, not from the stones or any other thing.
Good day, Mr. Keshe.
Hello, Jalal.
Is it OH2?
Pardon?
Is it OH2?
No, it's H2O.
But it's better to be OH2.
Maybe.
Okay, I have a question for you, Mr. Keshe. Which one better? That a man be in peace, making peace for himself, or the man making peace for the others?
You know my answer.
Yes, but if you...
Or have you snookered yourself with your question?
It's better to have it from you, Mr. Cash.
What?
It's better to you explain it for us.
No, you understand it better. You're always well educated. When we create peace for the others, we create peace for ourselves. Because they take from us what is blocking us from not having peace. When we see somebody in pain internally and you cannot do anything, it's no use going and sitting with them, what can I do to get your pain off? Elevate their soul, they will tell you what is their pain. They need to hear their fear. Then it does not become a fear. It becomes something they can handle. Why do people lie? Why do we need to worry if we need to help the others, where our worry should be we are not helping enough the others, that they don't need to ask for help? If people understand the process, it works much easier. I don't do anything. I spend a lot of time running around doing things, in a way enlightening, in a way passing information. But on the other hand, why should I do this? Because you see, what they do, they might not benefit by it, but what they do, the others benefit from what they do. And you see, you find a lot of peace, a lot of comfort in being able to be part of a process. This is something you always don't think, is it better for me, is it better for them? It's always better for me to be a process, for them to be better. Because at the end of the day, if I'm supposed to be better, it will be there. And maybe it's very strange things. If we need to help, we do, and having no fear. The fear is, in a way, not being able to give enough, and not the fear of how I lose some. I don't understand people who go deliberately to damage. The people who thinks it's their right to damage, and the people who think I damage anyway. I keep away from them. And this way is, I leave it for them to elevate themselves. I recently had this experience, very, very recently, and I couldn't understand why. Then I saw the jealousy, when I saw the power hunger, the me hunger, and I said, this soul needs a lot to learn, and in a way has become a thief on his own, and he sees as his right to steal, and I don't work with the thieves. So I leave it, let them steal from themselves, but it's there for them to take. And it's very easy, very, very easy. You just don't waste time, your energy, you just walk away from them. Because these people don't need wasting time with. You just elevate their soul and leave it is there for them. They'll never be, they're always hungry to destroy somebody else that they are bigger. So they need a lot of giving too. And you just sit and watch that they grow in their own time. I just walk away from these people. It's not that you don't elevate them, you allow them to come and take, but they can't steal because they got habitually used to destroying others to steal from them. I just walk away from them. I don't even talk or shake hand with them because they take energy by stealing. They are not there to serve, they're there only to serve themselves. And these are the souls which you keep away from, because it's there. You don't. When a man steals a gift, is a thief by nature. But when he's there, what you put out, you don't feel is stealing. It's there. They can take what they need till one day they grow mature. What are other people's wish? What would you like to change? What's been setting in your mind that I can change this? I could change this. Now I can change it. Change the wish to I can. You'll see it turns totally different. I can make this place a better place. I can bring peace because I am the provider of the fields of it, that it brings the environmental peace. What is your power? What can you do? What ability you would like to have, but you can. Any can doers?
There's a comment from Hassan in the Q&A. Why is it that the more I help, the more I give, and the more I support financially or physically, many around me emphasizes on stop. What are you doing? Stop giving. You give too much.
This
They
is
cannot
good.
understand
They realize how stingy they are.
yes, they cannot understand. That's what makes me feel complete. Thank you.
You see, is not giving and thinking you give. When it counts you're giving, you're not giving. You become a praising myself man. If you give and you look what it is, I share knowledge, I give knowledge freely. And I do a lot of other things, which is what is in my capability to do. But do I feel any short of? No. Do I feel I lost something? No. The more you give, let people say why you're giving. He says, come and join me, let's give together. And you see what happens if they join you. Just try. Next time says, why you give so much? Says, you come and join me, you become as rich as me. You can give more. I always say, The ones who count the giving, they're not actually giving, they're sitting there counting. Any other givers?
I think Mosfek would like to say something. His microphone is open. Mosfek, go ahead.
Well, that was a mistake, but I'll say something about the wish that we made in the Universal Council. We said the wish was that the people who have been enslaved regain their sovereignty back through the elevation of their soul. That was the wish we made in the Universal Council meeting last time. So I just wanted to say that one. That's it.
I tell you something very interesting. If you have a fear of what people try to make you fearful of, it means they have sat down and what we call in English, sussed you out, and they have studied you, and what is your strength is their fear, and they want to warn you that this is your fear, your weakness. And this is exactly where you understand where your weakness is, but you understand this is your strength, that it bothers them. And if you want to support the soul of those who are enslaved, that their soul will be free, or in any way, shape or form, try to understand what you have done in the long run, what the human race does in the long run, that leads to this slavery. Try to change at that point. Then, not only the wishes of your soul will come true, but what you do will create that condition. And I do that by example of what the way I understand and the way I see the foundation has to go. And we work in this pattern, we work in this way, we live in this way. I don't go and give also things, try to stop slaves, people coming to become slaves, to be picked up in Libya or in Dubai or whatever. As Keshe Foundation, we go and invest in these countries to give, that they don't need to think of moving to become a slave. And this is what we got to do as a foundation, as where we sit. We have to go to give at the source that people don't become slaves. Donations does not work. American government gives a lot of aid. A kilo of rice at $6, they pay $20 to the American rice maker, and they sell it in Africa for $2, to make sure that the gardener, the farmer, who cost him $3 will never make and they can forever make themselves control and giving to their people to become richer. If the American farmers were not paid to buy grains for American donations, the American farmers will go bankrupt. What we need to do is to give the harvest, to give the farmer in Africa the waters we produce, that he produces 3 kilos instead of 1 kilo of rice, that by selling it at $2 American do, he still makes $6 for the same land. Americans cannot export anymore. Their pain and the suffering across there by donation of rights, by handouts. Handouts for poverty of the nation's long run, enriching their own people. And then they create war to rob from the nations to pay to their farmers. This is the way it should be done. And this is the way we work to do it. And we'll get roots on it, and we understand it. And a lot of people in Africa who start understanding the work of the foundation start coming around to do it. It's got to come to the point that the wish has to become practically done, and we can get the support to do it. If you live in Africa, if you live in Europe, in Italy, or you're knowledge seekers, and especially if you live in Ghana, Togo, Nigeria, and you're a Keshe Foundation knowledge seeker, and you've done some work, and you have education of degree education from university, you can't get a job, write to Keshe Foundation Ghana. We are looking to employ up to 500 people in next 2 to 3 months. I repeat, you Ghanaians have a priority. If you're a Ghanaian listener, Keshe Foundation supporters from Togo, Niger, if you have, or you know, or you can find those who have a master's degree in sciences or in that kind of field and they can't get a job, send your request. Find the links of the Keshe Foundation Ghana. I'm sure our ambassadors will tell you in the background. We are looking to employ up to 500 in next 12 months. Depending on the progress, the first phase we'll think of about 150 to 300, and then up to 500. If we move in 3 shifts, we're looking up to 1,500 people in next 12 months. Only Africans, only educated master degree above, we would like at this moment to employ. Wages are set at 4,000 CD, which is $1,000 or $800, around that much per month, which is about 4 times the average, national average. This is what we are putting back in Africa, and we are ready to go. We start training from, hopefully our team will announce it. We start training. We are looking for those who understand and have been around the work of the Keshe Foundation, nano making, gas making, products making. This is the first official job we put out to change what you call the slavery is to be a slave the soul. Because we think with this, our management team will announce it in the coming time. The job advertising will go on the Ghana Keshe Foundation. We reckon about 100, 150 the first phase. If we go into the full production, we expect 3 shifts. We are looking to about 450 to 500 people. Jobs, highly educated for Africans in Africa, that they don't need to come into Libya to become a slave. Because this 500 jobs hopefully will lead to further 500 to 1,000 next 12 months, depending on the expansion of the factories. This will create another 3,000 to 5,000 jobs in Accra, in the auxiliary works which we rely on, and the taxes we pay to the government that it supports labor in Accra. Our factories are reaching the first completion phase in next, hopefully before end of this year will be complete. And sometimes in February, we should be able to start a full production. We need a month to 2 months to train the staff. Our management training, management team, manufacturing team are there. Hopefully in next few days, the management team will announce a link, and we are looking to employ inside Ghana, Accra. But the reason we are looking for others from Niger, from Togo, from Nigeria, and Ivory Coast possible, we're looking, is that we can train these, that in the coming year when we move to these countries for manufacturing, we already carry nationals with us who know they can faster set up their factories. This is the way to change, not to wish, but to actually act. We think in Accra within the next 2 years, we will support, deliver with all what we do, about 13 to 15,000 jobs. At least a few hundred who do not need to cross to desert boats to come into Europe to become a slave in different ways. You have to have a master degree. This is one of the conditions we set. In Africa, average wage round about $250, $200 a month. You're paying a 4,000 basic start for master degree. It's more or less fresh graduates out of university in Europe get paid about the same. Because you have to consider the taxation in Europe and the taxation in Ghana. I think the Ghanaian workers turned out to be better off. This is how it has to be done. In the coming weeks, further, we announced the Italian factory. We are looking for Keshe Foundation Italian supporters who understand the work. About the same numbers by March, 100, 150, maybe 200 people who have, if you are lacking in the knowledge or you have a degree, you can't get a job, or you whatever you can do, you have to move into south of Italy area where it's cheaper, but the wages will be settled according by the management team for Italian workers, the same. So hopefully we see a lot of jobs gradually in next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. We estimate to offer about 3 to 10,000 jobs in next 6 months through the Keshe Foundation supporters around the world. And this is the beginning of it. And in so many ways, I always said Ghana will be the flagship of the Keshe Foundation, and you will see the flagship of the Keshe Foundation in Ghana. We respected the government, we thank the support, and one of the latest factories, most modern factories in plasma technology will be open in Africa, in Accra. We promised the Togo government the same will follow, and we move to South Africa. South Africa is online for us to move on that direction, hopefully very soon. Kenya and Nigeria. In Nigeria, in order to open the factory was agreed this week, and as we speak, the process of buying the land to build the factory has gone out. I've allocated the funds for it to be done. This is how we change the slavery, by bringing wealth, because we are not selling furniture in Africa, we're selling technology, material, waters, and the others, which give the farmers upper hand to have products which they don't go bad, to create condition which changes the atmosphere, the environment of living. This is how we got to change, plus our wishes. Our wishes was to bring, and it has come. My wish is my command. By maybe, depending on our management team, what they do, maybe, I don't see it, but maybe by mid-January, you will see one of the most advanced factories in the world. We planned it, and will serve the nation, and it'll employ a lot of people. If you move to the 500 per shift, will employ 1,500, and kickback, according to governmental statistics, will create another 10 to 13,000 jobs outside the factory walls. This including the cafes, the restaurants, which these rich guys working for us will spend, the automotive industry, they support with the cars they buy, the fuel stations, the shops, because when you earn that kind of money with a little taxes on it, they spend it and they boost the economy of the country. We invested our money in safe. And this is how we stop slavery, actually investing in Africa. Any other wishes?
This is Moshfik again. I want to add a little bit to this wishing, in the sense of
Don't ask for more. Do it
no,
yourself.
No, I'm not wishing anything. I'm
Don't
just
wish.
giving an example of what's happening practically, what we are doing in Bangladesh. So because of this viral disease, we have been able to distribute waters to a lot of people. I mean, it's close to more than 1,000 by now have been cured. And several of these people have gotten curious about the technology behind it. And some of them are not well educated. Some of them are university graduates, engineers, and various other things. So there are a lot of people I teach every week, several times for free. And so a lot of people are coming now after drinking the water. So people are getting trained in a very strange way. It started, but gradually the interest is growing. So hopefully this will contribute towards what Mr. Keshe, you are talking about right now. I'm just talking about something very early stage, but it's the beginning of it. And so the help it's happening. We're a little behind Africa. Africa is much more advanced right now than we are, but it's going. Thank you very much.
What's next, Rick?
Well, I was just looking through. There was one question here from Hassan. Are white people that are born in Africa considered as Africans too in your program?
I'm colorblind. Keshe Foundation is colorblind. If you lived in Africa, most probably Hassan is. I know where he comes from. Lebanese, Indians, now becoming some Chinese, Pakistanis, some. They are fourth, fifth, sixth generation born and bred. Even though they still live within the same community, but they don't have connection. They call themselves, we are Libyans, but they only go to Libya maybe once a year for a week holidays because Mama used to go there. But they're literally part of the African culture. Africa is blind. That's why we created a one nation, one planet Universal Council, because this is a reality. Because they don't know, they've never been there. It's them, they are there. You cannot say you're Indian or you're this. They are from Lebanese descent, you're from different descent, or grandfathers or great grandfathers comes. You have no connection to the point. So then the nationalism is finished. We are all part of the same one nation, which is the planet Earth. But you come from, or your ancestry came from there. We have the same thing. There are hardly any Americans. There may be 6th generation, 10th generation, but they're not Americans. They're all immigrants of a continent, call themselves American. So if you're Arab background or European background and you've been brought up and through, you're part of the one nation, you're part of African continent. We're colorblind. We're not colorblind, we're all seeing all colors, we enjoy the beauty of it.
Hassan also says he'd love to be trained to start a Keshe factory here in Senegal. Can he join Accra to learn as a white citizen born in Africa?
Wait, sorry, to start with, he hasn't got a job because he thinks he's white. He's not white. He's a Lebanese.
Okay, I'll have to stop the whole
I tell you something, it is true, because if you're not black in Africa, they call you white. Doesn't matter where you come from.
Right.
So, because I used to work in Kinshasa, they used to call me the white man. I said, I'm not white. No, you are white. I said, look, I'm brownish, I'm Iranian. No, you're a white man. So I understand what he says. I'm just joking with him. It's like, but yes, if you have to have a master's degree. This is our condition, because we have a reason for it. We explained it before. It allows us to bring new innovations, new school of thoughts in, extension of the Keshe Foundation round, because we know what's going to happen with these people. The educated people come to us, some of them will move on to start parallel companies with Keshe Foundation, which we encourage them to do. And we finance them to do, or stay with the Keshe Foundation. We finance them to extend their interest, whatever they have. And this is part of the game we are in. We are there to encourage, to create extension of the knowledge.
Okay, so for Hassan, he would have to have a master's degree in order to start.
This is our criterion. No, no, this is our criterion at the moment in Accra. We have a specific reason. Accra goes on this because you have to understand it's very hard to go against the grain of the nature of the people in this part of the world. You got to understand, I've been in Africa for 25, 30 years. I respect every culture background in this continent, but there are ways, if you want to rapid expansion, to look at the certain categories. That this category can speed up the spread of the technology and the wealth of the technology in the continent. There is a plan why we do this. There's a reason why we pay 4,000 CD basic wage. Everything I do, I calculate in advance what is the outcome of it, the background of it. Because it brings more education, because educators get higher salaries, more comfort, so encourages the nation to go a step up in education, especially those. Then it allows us to support the higher level incomes that other companies will respect Africans for what they are, not slave money, the way it's getting paid. This way, with this kind of wages, we stop the sweatshops to move from China into Africa. There is a lot of reason I've done this. It's time to put respect back into Africa. It's time respect back to all humanity everywhere. It's a joy when I see a system built in Ghana is getting fitted into the farms in Italy. This is what we should do. This is not just because you're a white man, you call yourself in Africa. There are a lot of English, Dutch, God knows French, who are French, but they've never been to France. The grandma came, we never been there. Papa, we used to go, I don't go there. I've been there once. This is what it is. It's your homeland. It's not the color or race or creed. These things have gone. But we look for education, that level of education in the Keshe Foundation, because there is a purpose to change the ethos of other companies, other structures in Africa. Is not to create, push prices up. We have no competition. We can't push prices up because this is our prices we set. But at the same time, it allows the wealth of a nation, which is educated, to stay in the country. You watch, consultancies will open in Ghana with these educated people. Other people come up with different ideas, borrow money from the bank to make something with the gas they thought. We tell them, don't go and borrow, tell us what it is, we finance it with you. And we support you, and everything has to be there. It's got to be Africa, Asia, Europe. We are investing the same, maybe more around the same line in Italy. The factory, the new factory in Italy is going to be marvelous. I think by the end of the time, what I see, we're going to set up maybe about 3,000 to 5,000 square meters. You got to realize we start for around the starting point, all the factories around the world now around about 1,500 to 2,000 square meters. It's huge spaces coming into operation. Average KF manufacturing in the 11 countries which are coming into operation in a short time, in next 12 months will be between 3,000 to 5,000, some maybe to 7,000 square meters. We are not borrowing from anywhere. It's fully financed internally by the foundation. And all the profits will be used in Africa. we are not creating another Vatican. We are creating another peaceful nation as one nation. And we invested back. We pay extremely well to our staff, what they need when operational goals, and at the same time, we look after the nation. We don't give a free hand. We don't give money out. We spend in technology, in spreading technology, in changing the nation. And thus, the whole humanity as one nation. It's beautiful what I see is coming. I thank sincerely the management of the Keshe Foundation, the solid, they stood and they're standing, the manufacturing management team of the Keshe Foundation with all their expertise, all the Keshe Foundation supporting operation, everybody who is there, who puts time into it. I thank you all because it could not have been done. It cannot be done if it wasn't there. In the next 12 months, we'll see massive operational 35 factories worldwide is on the horizon. It's coming up, it's getting planned. This afternoon, we just received confirmation of the factory in Brazil. South Africa is online coming up. Tehran is on the planning line to in Austria, the same on the line to come in. Mexico, Switzerland, UK factory in 2019. We are talking each one minimum between 2, 3, 4, 500 employees, not 1 or 2. So we see the change. If we go the way we see it operationally, 3 shifts, which is pushing us, I can see that I already have spoken to our management team, those who are concerned what to consider. But even 200-300 shift, 500 or 600 per factory, 35 factory with all the auxiliaries will be 20,000-30,000 Keshe Foundation followers around the world will have to. It's beautiful what it comes, but we are not going outside. Finance is internal. We are building the most advanced factories. The most advanced. Anything which is most advanced, that it fits into advanced technology, will be there. Accra, by hopefully March, 3,000 square meter factory space. Is huge for a nation. And on top of it, further 5,000 to 7,000 square meter in the next 12 months in the same country. We'll release the pictures of the factory in coming weeks, the setup in other countries. And if you're a Keshe Foundation supporter, and if you have a degree, if you don't, if you have a degree but you know nothing, it can start moving. Understand it for the love of it, don't work it because of the money of it. And then you join. We are there. I think gradually, due to what we've seen before, we won't put any of our management team out to where they are. They will see the stupidity of it. We've seen the same thing very recently happening. These people are paid. They are professional, what I call terrorists. We will handle them. We have set our structure to handle them. And then we'll talk about it when they're handled. You will understand very soon. We invest against peace. We invest against technology. We invest for governments to take out the terrorists out of terrorism. It's very clear how we invest. We invest to not talk about it, but bring the religions to work together. That what is set up not to be there to be done. You will see how it works. As I said, you wish peace, Keshe Foundation will find a way to deliver it. It takes time, maybe 3 to 5 years, but gradually we're getting there. We got to understand we achieved this with a full ban which has been put by Fox organization and Keshe Foundation. The owners of the Fox corporation, which goes to Rothschild family, have put a ban on Keshe Foundation to be mentioned anywhere in the organization, which they control majority of the press and newspapers around the world. Anytime there is something wrong, they elevate it, but they get hit back so bad they don't know which hole to crawl in. They tried to destroy, they pushed the Accra, but they became the source of the power of Accra for us, and the same other places. You will understand very soon. Earth Council, you wish, we deliver. In respect to your wishes or your needs in your continent or in your part of the world, that the Earth Council members bring it into the council meetings that we can see. We get instructions from the Earth Council, they wish to open a factory in a given place, we will make our effort to do it. But it has to be in the limits we have, we can do, and it'll be done. Start using, start supporting, start understanding the operation of the foundation. Contact your Universal Council members if you have a problem to communicate with members of the Earth Council. They are the channels, they talk, they are always in different meetings, joint meetings sometimes, and bring it back. You want to work in Senegal, speak to the member of the African continent, Earth Council member. He's a French speaking, Alex. He was with me till a few hours ago. He's just on his way back to Nigeria. He's been with me for about a week, 10 days. We've done a lot of work, and a lot of things are clear what's going to happen in the African continent, what's going to happen in Nigeria and the rest of it. And he's responsible for the whole of Nigerian, what they call African continent. And speak to head of the manufacturing of Africa, which is Benjamin. They sort everything out, organize it with them, and we will see what can be done. The foundation is well organized and getting more and more organized every day in its structure. So it's all there, you need to ask, but try to go to your counselors. We can act faster because they see it, they want, they need, they see what it can be done, they bring it on the table of discussion. Any other thing? I think a lot of your wishes came true, or a lot of them will get set back.
There was just a comment in the chat from Emiz Iyad, who said, when you were mentioning about gold and silver and diamonds, he says that I connect the central sun with diamonds, our sun with gold, and the earth with silver in my meditation to connect. I think he means to connect with the soul. Does that make sense, or is that is there anything?
No, I don't understand anything.
Okay, well, the idea is that the central sun would be connected with diamonds. The sun, our sun in this solar system with gold, and the earth with silver.
We learn something every day.
Okay. I do note that Prince Harry recently proposed, and the woman he's proposing to, he gave a ring to, which he designed, which had diamonds in it. And it had one central diamond, but the two diamonds on the side belonged to his mother, Princess Diana. And so I'm wondering, they seem to think that part of her spirit was in the diamond. And they were sort of considering that part of her, I guess, spirit or soul was embedded in this diamond. Could that be possible?
Whatever we think is possible. Whatever we think. This is what, if you've been in diamond business, diamonds have a soul. Diamonds have a feeling. Diamonds are very special thing, and they tune with the human body so perfectly.
So can we put part of our soul in a diamond? In other words,
we carry a carbon in our amino acid, and some of it is a single structure, and you hold it. You can hold a diamond in your hand and feel it. It's a very, most probably you can do with a lot of things, but because I used to be in diamond business for a long time, and sometimes when you get a diamond, when you hold it, when it's raw, rough, not cut, you feel emotions in it. You feel the emotion of the man who took it out. You feel, because when you look at industrial way of mining diamond, it's a very commercialized way. But most of the diamonds in Africa, which is dug by the diamond men, they call them, they hold it. The people who dig diamonds in open mines, they don't get much paid for it. But what they do when they receive it, or when they find it in the clay or whatever, they wash it, they see it, they put it under the cheek, inside their mouth. That's the safest place. Nobody can steal from them. And so they carry on. It's not in the pocket. It's not somebody going to get it. They wash it. They put it in their mouth if it's a small stone or whatever. And the big ones, they carry a different way. When you hold it, sometimes some stones gives you a feeling. It's like you feel the emotion of the man who dug it out. If you go to De Beers and them, it's just a mechanical system. Most of the Africa in diamond business is not that way. There are little men, they mine, and then it gets certificated. I have to accept a meeting, call. I'll come back to you.
okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Okay, is there anyone else from the Earth Council or Universal Council who would like to say something at this point?
This is Moshfek again.
Hi, Moshfek.
I would like to add a little bit to the story of people coming and learning Keshe technology here, which is a bit of a different flavor. So this relates to the thing that I just talked about, that the waters were distributed to cure some viral disease, which is, there is no cure for this particular one. And the interesting part is this virus is carried by mosquitoes. So we talk about other beings helping us. So in this case, actually, the mosquito helped us to convey this technology to people around me. And so they did their part in a way to spread the knowledge. And it's interesting because some months back, this was before we started producing this water, Mr. Keshe was talking about communicating with other beings using one's soul. So one day, I mean, as you may expect in a tropical environment such as ours, these mosquitoes are everywhere. And what people tend to do is they try to clap their hands, and you know what happens to mosquito after that. So, and I mean, I'm no exception to that rule, but that day I said, okay, let's see whether I can do without clapping my hands. So, the mosquitoes were around me, and I intentionally tried to say that, well, you guys are here for food, but there are lots of GANs around me, so there is that facility available. I was like, in a way, projecting the thought that you don't have to bother me. And actually, surprisingly, there were mosquitoes around, but one or two were coming and sitting on me. But for the most part, most of them were not. And it was a bit surprising for me to watch that mosquitoes were not bothering me as much. Yeah, there were a few terrorist type, I'm sure. And so, and then after a month or so, we by that time we started distributing this water because we were hearing a lot of people getting infected by this problem. And this was since this is carried by mosquito, so my intention not only just stop the mosquito locally, but they actually helped spread the technology itself. So it's kind of fascinating. The thought came to me that all these events transpired after I started thinking about communicating with the mosquitoes. Whether I did or not, I'm not sure. But the events that followed, including me getting infected by this particular disease, because we also figured out the dosage and how it would work, I mean, given this condition. So I was part of the experiment, so to speak. And so we can communicate with other beings, and they can help us in the same way we do to people who are nowadays causing havoc in human societies. So, and they may be able to help those people, human beings who are creating havoc. So the plants around them can help elevate them as well. So I'm thinking that we in this whole process, other beings are our friends in bringing this technology and bringing peace and all that. And sometimes, mosquitoes are hard to forget for us, and even harder for them to, even harder to wish well-beings, especially in this environment. But maybe there is possibilities when we cross this boundary of killing mosquitoes to having them as friends. And so, and I think all of us as Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers, we can do this thing of elevating and interacting in our own way with these beings that we consider to be pests and something else, or even worse. So this is a thought. I just wanted to relay this, and it turned out, I mean, I was not consciously planning on them helping us, but it did. So this is something to think about. Anyway, I wanted to relay this observation to everybody and see how they can use it in their own way. Thank you.
Well, it reminds me of a video I saw the other day. I can't present it here because I'd have to get permission and so on, but I'll just describe. It caught my attention because the name of the video, it was one of these sort of viral videos in Facebook that were going around. And it was about the best self-defense method in the world. And I thought, oh, gee, that'll probably be some exciting little flick. I wonder what that is, you know, just sort of, I don't usually go for those, but I was a little bit curious. And when you click on it, it actually turns out that it's this police officer who's explaining how to defuse situations without having any physical interaction or no violence and so on. And he gave certain situations where a bully might be bullying someone, or someone calling you names, or otherwise, you know, trying to aggressively interact with you and so on. And he found humorous and insightful ways to basically disarm people's attacking statements or their posture that was might have been aggressive. You know, he had volunteers call him names and so on, and he found a way to disarm them by his voice. And I thought that was a good reminder that sometimes we have the habit as humans to get into conflict when we don't really need to. And, you know, part of that, there's lots of reasons for that, or conditioning, and, you know, might even be with the way video games are today. You're training yourself to lash out and kill something, essentially. That's what most of the games are based on. So in terms of mosquitoes, as was just brought up, the tendency is to lash out and kill that mosquito just because they are who they are. But perhaps with a bit more elevation of our own soul, we can resist the urge to lash out and instead include them in part of our picture in a way. You know, I'm not sure, I'm not saying to encourage the proliferation of mosquitoes necessarily, but sometimes just with a change in attitude, as was just brought up, that might be enough to change the entire situation. I wish I could play that video I was referring to, but I can't right now. But you get the gist of it, that the idea being that our voice is very powerful with intention behind it. And even without our voice, our intention is very powerful. But if you're in a situation where there's aggressive energy happening, there's a very good chance it can be diffused with the with some grace and elegance in use of the language. Okay, anybody else with something to say at this point? Might be a few minutes before Mr. Keshe or Caroline come back in here. Theodore has his hand up. Ted, what would you like to say? Here, I think, okay, they're promoting you to a panelist so you can speak. Okay, you should be able to unmute your microphone there now, Ted.
Hey there, Rick. I was
Hi.
wanting to, hey, beautiful day. I was wanting to add to what you're saying about using the speech to disarm a situation. And lately, in my living situation, we've got more and more people living in our area, and it's kind of tight quarters, and we don't have a lot of comforts, average comforts like running water, bathrooms, things of that nature. So it's a little bit more rustic, and that puts people on the edge. Even though we're not aggressive people, we get stressed out just in different situations. So I've noticed that, in my opinion, when we notice it coming on in ourselves, when we notice that we're the one that is probably going to be the aggressor in this situation, it's easy through awareness to kind of take notice of that, whether it's like a tunnel vision starting. That's what I notice in my mind. I see a loss of light, actually a visible loss of light. Anytime I'm in a real argument, I can almost see nothing. It's all I'm in my mind so much I don't even see that person. Like, and so when I notice these things coming on, like my new saying is like, well, we've got 40 acres here of woods. Like if anybody's in a bad mood, they don't need to be in the house. Go take a hike, and by the time you're done walking around for a minute and come back, it's all different. And I think just that awareness of where our field is major, because once people become aware of that, then I mean, that's just kind of another, the opposing view of helping others when they see it, but also just being aware of it in ourselves, because I think all of us get touchy at times, or a little bit short with our voice, or we're not as communicating as we could be due to internal conflict or stress. So I don't know if that resonates with anyone else, but that's kind of my thing, is like just remove from the situation and then come back and try again in a few minutes, and usually the field's done changed by then.
Well, that puts a new meaning to the word to the phrase take a hike. When someone tells you to take a hike, it's kind of an insult or whatever, to sort of like get lost or get out of my face and these kinds of phrases. But in this case, take a hike could be good advice. It might work well, both for reminding ourselves and for maybe reminding others. It might be a good idea to go for a walk right now or something like that.
Nature really has a way of doing that. I think a lot of people say, oh, I enjoy hiking, or that's a thing, but why do we like hiking? Is it just the scenery, or is it that by the time we're done with the hike, all the fields of our body have completely shifted because of the vertical people and their power in the woods? And so,
But also, as Mr. Keshe has talked about in the past a few times, is the tapping or pulsing on the bottom of the feet as well, which transfers through the whole physicality and activates the.
I really enjoy that. I wear
feel.
to work, I wear like a leather shoe, like a leather sole shoe. So, because I'm trying to avoid rubber, so I go to the secondhand stores and buy these expensive leather shoes. And when you nail your heel down wearing a leather shoe like that, it really works. It's a very hard sole, and it just sends that vibration right up. And on my walk down the stairs every morning, I think about that, and I nail my heel. And I like the feeling. I do feel it. I do think I understand that concept and the strengthening and and you can feel it. If you hit your foot, like he's saying, certain ways and just try different ways, like there is a way to like tap your heel as you're walking, especially down a stair or something, and just nail it. It reminds me of walking in ski boots some, because in ski boots you can't really walk flat footed. You either have to walk with your toe or your heel. And so I just kind of do that, and I really enjoy that a lot.
I believe it activates the calcium aspect. Maybe there's somebody else that can remember.
I remember it would strengthen the bones, as I recall. Just by doing it, it caused the bones to stay strong, and that made sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, we know that from the medical people know that aspect of it. But Mr. Keshe had a more deeper way of looking at that, which is interesting.
I've been messing around with submerging my maggrav in water lately.
Well, it's plugged in?
Yeah, running a load on it. I mean, safely, yeah, run a lead. I mean, yeah, it doesn't short out or anything. It's just the positive wire going through water in the maggrav. So put a little GANs in there and just for fun, pray to it a little bit and talk to it. I love water a lot. Even before we all came together, or I came together with you all in this group, like one of my major passions has always been water. And then once getting into it and understanding the structure of it and the hydrogen and even the theory behind homeopathy and how the memory of certain things can be carried through water, and also understanding like subatomic or colloidal particles, molecules and stuff. And I just see that like, well, when you take a clean water, like distilled water, and you impart information in it, that's very good science. That's old science. I was talking to my doctor friend about it. He's like, this science goes back to Egypt and before. And he's like, I was like, I wonder why it's not as prevalent. And he's like, well, we could make excuses or whatever why it's not prevalent. But at the end of the road, he's like, it takes time. You have to be willing to work with the fields, like between you and the mirror, you're actually willing to work with the fields. And then also like the way that fields and atoms, he described it in his mind as they work in time. Like there's a time to it. So a lot of people in their impatience have neglected this science over time, and it has become lost. And I'm excited that we're resurrecting it and adding to it and growing on it.
Well, it's interesting what Mr. Keshe said earlier today regarding water and the transformation of hydrogen and the H2O and then into gold as well. So from the fields of water, somehow we end up with gold. That's a pretty big transformation.
If this is something where we actually need to look at what we believe is the structure of the gold molecule and then place like reactors in that structure, and then as above, so below, the smaller structure forms because of the placement of the larger structure.
Try it. Let us know how much gold you make.
My heart isn't set on making gold, so I don't really mess with that too much. I am trying to cultivate the gold in my heart, like the ancient alchemical belief of maybe, like Mr. Keshe says, the secret of the technology isn't making it in physicality, but, and even with alchemy, like you look at the old alchemical sciences and how they did it, well, the transmutation of the soul into gold, into the representation of light, is what I believe the objective is. I'm looking forward to an earth that, in a way, I feel like, okay, a black hole is going to gobble this all up. It's time to reset. But then in my more research of what I'm thinking is going on, it's actually like, well, a crystalline form appears, and what might be viewed upon as things folding up onto each other really is just an extrapolation of a crystalline structure. And I think that's what I view as the objective of being in tune with light or the fields, is the crystalline structure. And I think that once we make that decision as a collective, it even goes beyond like, oh, well, there's no learning to do. Like I believe even in the crystalline structure of light will be that's when we'll have access to helping the others more. And right now we can help the others, but until I think we increase our elevation in a way, we're kind of subject to the others. And I mean, I believe that we have fate, but I think that something about the change of the human's perception of the physicality and moving towards that energetic state, and then the effect that we have on the universe from that point forward. And of course, I think the practice comes with, can we respect the vertical people? Can we respect the animals and even the rocks enough? And then ourselves as brothers and sisters to kind of earn that elevation through a cultivation of gold in the heart, like through the real alchemy and transmutation. But I still like, I feel for people out there that don't have a lot of monetary resources. And even as I approach becoming low on monetary resources myself, I see that like, well, I've got a job, I'll be fine. But I know there's a lot of people that stress. One of the main reasons I think I want to bring peace to the earth so much is, the prime example is, part of my job, I go to the grocery store, and the lady that was bagging my groceries was like crying. And I was like, well, what's wrong? And she's like, well, they cut my hours, back to like 35 hours instead of 40. And I figured it in my mind that it wasn't even about the benefits or losing her benefits. She didn't have no benefits even at full time. She was just mad about losing that couple hours of minimum wage. That was like whatever, $50, because that $50 to her was like the rent and the food at the end of the month. And I really identify with people's struggle like that. And if creation of gold is what's necessary to change that on earth, then my wish is that that happens 100%. And I'm sure it will happen if that's what needs to happen. So how do you feel, Rick, about personally trying to make gold? Do you focus
I
on
think
it?
if everybody has gold, gold will have no value. So the entire monetary system would collapse if it's based on gold. So I don't think it's an answer as far as unless we want the collapse of the monetary system, which could be an answer in itself, because there's always something else coming in the background, the Bitcoin thing and so on. The cryptocurrency will probably replace our regular currencies, and it may not be based on gold. That's the whole thing about it. The currency, the future, will not be based on any physicality thing, because anything that you can think of in the physicality will be able to make and mass produce on printers in huge warehouses. So if gold became the standard, there'd be huge warehouses printing out gold, and suddenly a few people would be controlling that, and gold would be worthless. They'd have to go to platinum or some other element, and then they'd have huge warehouses printing out platinum. Everybody would be trying to print out platinum, because that would be the coin of the realm, as they call it. And eventually we would just run out of all the elements of the universe trying to print them out, and finally realize that all this physicality stuff, it's just a game not worth chasing. And that if you can make and print anything you want anyway, then what good is money? Money is of no good. And then you'll start to think about, well, what is of any use or any good for trade? What is it that we as humans really want and need in our lives that is not represented by a coin or a bill or some other piece of paper, or even a digital document that says you owe such and such, or you are owed such and such. And eventually it comes down to a different type of currency, like a currency.
Why would you need currency at all at that point, Rick?
Well, this is what I'm saying, a different type of currency, which might be the currency, for example, called love. And it's not recorded necessarily, and it's just part of the natural flow of the way of service. And it becomes how much can you serve, basically. And that's becomes, the ones are the greatest of service become elevated because they're elevating others. And the people recognize that there's a new game in town, and it's not about how many cars you have or how many dollars you have or how much of anything of the physicality you have. And perhaps then we'll no longer fixate on the physicality stuff. We'll probably still fixate because that's what humans do, but we'll fixate on a higher realm of that emotional content that is the connection to the soul, that is actually the important factor when when, for example, people in these disaster areas that we talk about so often, take a hurricane in Dominica. Say you've been in a hurricane and you've lost everything, virtually everything. Your house is flattened. You've lost all your clothes. They're all, now it's raining and everything's getting wet and you have no roof and no walls on your house that was there and nothing's left. Your car is crushed and you have no savings. You have virtually nothing. Well, people in that circumstance, well, first of all, they go through a whole raft of emotions, but eventually they're left with themselves and their interactions with their neighbors. And that is what becomes important, and how much respect you still have left at the end of all that, both for others and yourself and so on. And you usually get very close to what is real and what is important in life, which is that connection to the soul and the connection to soul to others.
Just like what happens on a deserted island.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like everybody's trying to run around and collect as many car keys for cars as they can, because if they control all the cars, which there aren't any, then somehow they'll be better off.
Well, something definitely comes to mind there when you're talking about the idea of love being a currency. And when I'm thinking about this in my mind, I'm seeing that as an ability to see fields becomes more prevalent in the man's future, like with that, seeing somebody's field and associating with, say, a color, and that association being like, well, somebody with a lot of love would be a certain color. Well, instead of like elevating that person to being on the society, like by maybe contributing an idea of responsibility to those that have a lower color, that they're the highest ones in society, that they're elevated because they're the ones that maybe don't need but are open to a higher field. So like I would say that even if you had more love, you would be less elevated because you would be trying to elevate the different color or the different frequency that you see in the others. Does that make sense to you?
I think so. You might have to run it by me again to
Well,
really.
what I mean is like, well, if say that love is the currency, so what does that mean? If you have a lot of love that you can have whatever you want and you have more to trade? Or is it that if you have less love, that you're elevated to a higher spot in society because you're the people that are of a higher love need less. So the spot of we think as elevated in society is the people that have the most like material or wealth. And so like in my mind, like if you were to elevate the people with a lot of love as the highest people in society, there would be worship there. And instead of that, like worshiping, the poor person or the sick person or the elderly person, or even the person that's confused in the mind, or the people that are the beautiful people and the things that we're trying to accomplish, like to elevate them to the higher point in society based on their, we would call it a lower field because of their lack of love, because they're the important people in society until they get, we're only as good as our weakest link, in my mind.
It's sort of like inverting the whole pyramid, you might say. It's
The opposite of how we do it today. Everything seems to be the opposite. So why not try the opposite of how we do it today and see where it goes?
The problem is with the word worshiping others, I don't think it'll end up being like that, but elevating the souls of others by, focusing the efforts on those that need it, essentially. Yes. So that could very well be the way it goes.
Yeah, it would almost like
Coming up
somebody.
quite a bit actually in international circles, and the politicians and the rich people of the planet, the richest people of the planet, are now realizing that the whole game of money is not so great as what it used to be, let's say. And now it's a different game in town. Like, for example, you look at, I was just thinking today, there's probably more numbers of millionaires that have been created in the last month than millionaires in history, because there's so many people that have bought into this Bitcoin phenomenon, and Bitcoin temporarily went up to like $12,000 or $16,000 or something like that. And if you bought in when it was 20 cents and you had many thousands of them, you'd have hundreds or thousands of millions of dollars right now. And that could be, pretty empowering for those that may have started out with very little. And so we've made literally thousands and thousands of new millionaires just in the last month or so. And so if you're already a millionaire and you thought, oh, I'm a millionaire, I've got $30 million or whatever. And that was part of the old money where you have 30, and then in the next 5 years, you might go to 31, 2 or 3 or 5 million or whatever it was. And, you're gradually increasing with your investments and so on and so forth. Well, in our modern world, that's gone all kaput, because now there's people that are doubling and tripling their money each month instead of every few years. And now they're rapidly increasing these amounts of wealth, and what we call wealth, but it's, again, basically on paper. We're talking about dollars, which may or may not be worth something in the near future. So,
well, the funny thing about that, Rick, is that they could have that, like you said, they could have those Bitcoins be millionaires, but that's not realized until they actually remove it. So they could be in the crypto world, have millions of dollars, but until they actually take that out, then it's not realized. So it's not actually there until it's removed from that.
right. Well,
Right.
yeah, depending on when you sell out, or if you sell out partially or whatever, you might use your Bitcoin as a way to allow other investments to happen or something like that.
But you have to understand that kind of cryptocurrency is more about decentralizing what the banks have done for a long time. So people are interested in that kind of technology simply because of the fact that they don't have to rely on the $30 a month transaction fees for their bank.
Right. So again, it's this decentralization concept, which, if you think about it, is occurring all over the world in terms of not just the banking, but also with energy systems.
So now relate that to plasma. We could do that with plasma. We don't have to have a electronic device to do something with, to create an algorithm. I'm not sure from that aspect of how it works, but to actually use a computer to do the mining and use it as in terms of a plasma. Because we're all connected to each other through plasma, and we can provide that same type of decentralization of feelings and be able to provide that on our own grid to one another or the entire.
That's right. And what's occurred to me is if you relay it in the same terms as the energy systems on the planet, look at Puerto Rico, for example, that's just had its whole grid system wiped out. Yet it's currently, its power system is on alternate energy. The entire or renewable renewable energy. The entire island is on renewable in terms of hydroelectricity and sun power from solar panels now. They don't have any generator systems to speak of other than individual generators in certain places. But now people are becoming more reliant on solar panel, or what will be and shortly coming up is the self-sufficient generators, this idea of having a self-contained generation system for your home, or at least your immediate area, and it'll take care of your needs. And more I see as humans are becoming like independent energy generators ourselves. We're no longer reliant on the grid as such. We're more reliant on ourselves, taking self-responsibility for our own actions and for our own physicality and so on, and less reliant on the so-called authorities of the doctors and the large corporations that have been dictating to us and trying to convince us through their ads and that kind of thing. And we become more reliant on ourselves. And then as we learn more about this technology, we learn to become independent energy generators ourselves. We give from our soul. We give these fields out for those who would like to or need to accept them. And it's not like we're necessarily wanting something back, from not wanting to get paid by the government to do that, or we're not wanting some other interaction necessarily. It's just, we know that it's important to give, to be of service, to serve and not to be served. And this is the whole kind of change of attitude that I think is going on, and people are more and more realizing, gee, wow, I can really do this. I can, put out some good vibes out there, and I find that I get good vibes back. That's pretty cool. It's like I'm changing the world just by being happier myself first and so on, rather than trying to find things in the environment that make us happy in order to feel good. We make ourselves happy first and then put that out, and that changes the world, rather than looking for things in the world to make us happy. You know what I mean? So it's a different perspective, it comes more from inside ourselves, rather than waiting for things to happen, just sort of happen from the outside world.
Right, but that happens because of yourself. So, for example, Mr. Keshe says the people that make the weapons are just as harmed in making those weapons as the people that use them. And I firmly believe that they know what these systems that they're going to be, that they touch, that they put themselves into, are going to be used for, and they have to do that, or they want to do that, and it's going to take a toll on themselves. And I think that's the whole point, is that whatever you do, you know that it's going to take a toll on yourself, or it's going to provide for everybody else. And I know you, Rick, and I myself, part of the core team, have gone through that experience of just letting go of everything else and providing from your soul to every single thing and being and soul on this planet, to try to elevate them to learn more and to understand of what is really going on outside of our bubble, which is our physicality.
Mm-hmm. Okay, is there any other comments or ideas here?
Yes, Rick, this is Gatwa. Perhaps,
Hi,
yeah, perhaps we should change what you have displayed here to with the new words that Mr. Keshe just gave us. So instead of, but you can copy and paste it below so that we have both.
Which new words is that?
I can. So we can, instead of, no, the one you had, that one, we peaceful beings can end any war developments. But perhaps we should have both. And then we can discuss that. We just learned instead of wish to change wish to can. Yeah, yeah. And then perhaps ask Mr. Keshe to advise us further. Thank you.
Or what about just saying, we peaceful beings are ending war developments through elevating their souls? Not we can, but we are, because we are.
Yes, that makes it even stronger, but he said, I can, so we can ask him. But what you're saying makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
For those who can, and those who am.
Those who can do.
No,
they
those
just,
who am are.
perfect.
Yes, it's true. Well, those who can, now's the time. And also those who can also teach as well. So, okay, that's a good point. Got to the change from wishing to just being able.
Well, thank you. But that came from Mr. Keshe. So let's go ahead and do it. So you could have a third one. We peaceful beings are ending or will end.
How much is your confidence?
Or just end. I'm 100% confident. We peaceful beings end any war development.
Do you all think we're the same beings in a different time and place? That we're all the same, like, entity in a different time and place? That's why we view it as individuals?
I think we are all part of the same. I was explaining to children very recently, it's just like we are one cell of a small part of a liver. Very, very minute part of a liver of the creator. All of us together, we still not even make one cell. We are one, let's say, atom, or part of an atom, or part of an electron of an atom, of the amino acid of the creator. So we are all connected. We're all part of the same. The beauty of it will come when we understand how we are one. So we have to, we have to. There is no if or but. Because when the English language is very rich in emphasizing something. If you understand the way you use it, When you say I can, it means I already assessed myself. I already taken cons and pros, weaknesses and the strength together, and yes, I have more than it takes, and I can give more than. The way the English language is written, the English language is expressed, not written, because you can express it in a specific ways. When you say we can, it means I have considered everything I have within me to give more than what it takes from me. I can do it. I can win. I can eat. I can walk. It means I have considered everything in consideration. I have the leg. I have the stamina. I can get up. I can do it. This, if you understand the essence, I get very much accused that you speak English like, you understand it differently. But in fact, English language is very precise in some cases, especially in these kind of things. It means I have assessed everything. It doesn't matter in what language you put. When you say we can change, we can bring peace, it means we have considered all the weaknesses of our opponent, all the weaknesses of the people who create war, and we have found a solution which is more powerful than their power, which is we got access to their soul. This is one thing nobody could calculate. And this is one of the reasons religions were created, to blind man from that power of subconscious control, to become the conscious. So when you can, because you assess, I can give my life in the path of peace. So I carry, as they say, a body of a man carries energy 18 Hiroshima bomb. So 7 billion is nothing to 18 Hiroshima bomb. You have surplus for the ants and the dog and the cat and the fish and the trees. So when you say you can, it means you assess, you have more than, and when you say it, you do it. I can do it, I'll do it. And so when you change it to a can, it means, yes, I am willing to give, because when you understood all the teaching, it means I'm prepared to give from my soul. I can give because I'm a source, I'm the sun. And when you compare the sun to the earth, the sun is majestic. It's a giver, he has enough to give. Let those who create war be the earth, we shine on them. They depend their life on us. Then we have moved in. We decide which side is going to turn to be enlightened. Try to gain confidence by the knowledge, not by arrogance. Knowledge that you have found the essence of creation within you, and it has the power to give it. It's you who decide, unconditional. Then you understand what the word creator means. I was discussing, Caroline asked me something very strange a couple of days ago, and she pushed me to answer. She said, what is God? I said, God means cheat. They created the word of God to cheat man from existence of his own soul. He says, couldn't you tell me this for 2 days? I said, because if I explain, people don't understand. God is within me, so I am part of the creator. And I am the creator of. So try not to just listen and talk words, understand the essence of it, and you all can. the world leaders have never had such a spy in their life. You have moved in right into the center. And the strange thing is, the spy they think is a spy is a friend of their soul. So he'll take. When you give, you become part of the emotion. That the physicality and the soul of the person who receives this has to assess, am I going to cry? Am I going to laugh? Am I hungry? Do I need it? What is needed? Does my emotion need it? Does my soul need it to become equal to what is the strength of this soul which I receive energy from? It is the most beautiful way to deliver this technology. Now, in past few weeks, when I sit and watch, I absolutely enjoy. I was telling Caroline, we discuss a lot with Caroline, we speak a lot about things in these ways. And I said to her, do you know all the torture we went through, all the exiles, bombing, getting whatever, it was worth it. She said, but you know, we paid 20 years of our life like this. I said, but you know, we have freed 7 billion from hands of those who abused their souls. She said, yeah, it was worth it. It is worth it because we can do, because our soul, the strength of our soul is there to do it. I was walking a truck, just driving behind it recently. And this truck was what do you call it? A wood carrier. They carry trunks of wood, just cut for fire or whatever. And they're all piled up on top of each other. I said, I feel sorry for these. These are lives. Can you imagine if they put 50, 100 human beings on top of each other, on like the way they put these woods, these blocks? What would we do? The tree has a life. Why man does these things? We have become so used to steal from the others in any shape or form and justify it, that we have forgotten we have a soul that can give us everything and we do not need to steal. We are stealing from our own soul and we are not aware of it. I can create heat. I can create energy what I need no more. I can feed my physicality through my soul. When you go to that space, when we go in deeper space, there are no cars, no beeps, nothing. How are you going to feed, you convert yourself into a physical entity? How are you going to feed it? Where the energy is going to come for you to keep this? Because they have animals that does not fit into your mouth. Or they don't have a mouth because they learn something else. How are you going to feed yourself? How are you going to give energy to every cell of your body, every structure of your body to be able to be mobile, to move, to see, to whatever? There is no other way but to use the energy within the soul of the man, that through it feeding the body of the man. The faster we learn this, the sooner we find out there are no dimensions in the existence of any creature in the universe, even us. How are we going to survive in space if we don't realize we are the biggest giver, that through it we receive what we need the most? When man starts understanding the flow of the fields through, let's say, plasma, you will see no rubbish comes in and goes out. Not a single field which you do not need ever comes into the circle. So even the field from a distance coming to this plasma, they already know the strength is matching. Because there is a need for it inside somewhere. Gain confidence because you know, you gain the knowledge, and gain confidence in you have the strength to be the giver. It does not need to be working to give physically what you give. Give through the emotion, give through the cell, give through the soul of the man, that each one, whatever needs it, receive it. If it's emotional, emotion receive it. If it's a cell, the cell receives it. If it's the soul needs it, the soul receives it. And have that confidence that I have it within me. Walk with your head high, because for the first time you understand why you've been created, how you have to be able to create, and what is the purpose of life in the universe. It's not to kill to eat, it's not to rape to slave, and it's not definitely bank of money in the bank. Just have confidence to understand, test yourself, test your ability, test how many people you can stand in a square and watch how many people you can bring sigh of relief, laughter, standing up straight and walking with head high. And you say, I did that. This is the only thing Christ ever did. He gave from the soul. He knew how to play the game. He never worked on the fear of the man. He always worked on the strength of himself. Moses worked on the fear. And you still see his tribe work on the fear. Muhammad started with killing, destroying statues. You see still they bomb themselves. The statues has become human bodies. And the best of it is the Europeans have learned how to make a movie out of it, and they call it the attack. And there is no bomb. They're relying on the fear of the man. You can. You don't need to wish it. You can, and you will do it, and it'll be done. Because you have found the key to changing everything. I said many times, there was one element missing, was the confidence of man in the power of his soul. And now you have it. Move on, you change. Make something very strange for yourself. I'll give you a test. I don't watch television. I don't have a connection to a television. I don't watch anything. But all of you watch television, you watch news. Without the news, it's the end of the world for many men. They are used to being lied to. So now they found a box which lies to them continuously. They call it the news. So this news box, you have a television, you watch what they report as wars, conflicts, people killed and whatever, and say, this one I can change. Don't take a short-term one. Take somewhere there is a president involved, where there is somebody crook is involved with hurting other people's or whatever, and concentrate on it. and call the rest of the family. Says, today we're going to work on this guy. We give to him so much, and see correctly, not just because we sit and give, understand what you do, and see how fast that structure changes. Go to the next news, next after you completed some one thing, and then work on that one. And see very soon, after a while, most probably there'll be no more news on television. It's a good news. There was a wind here, somebody won a jackpot, and then there is no bad news to report. Tune to Italian television. I've said this many times before. Tune to Italian television news. As always, it's a highlight of the news. Who killed the lover and where the lover was killed, and what was the reason that the guy killed the lover. This is the news in Italian news every day, day in, day out. Without it, a week is not complete. And it's usually a cafe or in a smoke shop or in a cigarette shop or sweet shop. Somebody gets killed and the police goes under the door, the curtain goes up, the forensic goes in, and this is the news. Because people have got used to killing each other. You change, the news is there. Actually, if the Keshe Foundation followers of their own soul understand what they give them, they give you everything which is wrong for you to put right, just sit in front of that box. You see a world leader you think is doing something wrong, bombard him with love and care, and you see how he jumps. Mugabe was a good example. We saw, all of us, how we changed Togo. Niger disappeared. Pick a news, go for a world leader, and become a virus of giving and love to his soul, that it becomes so big that it changes the microbe of the body. I wish I could teach you, but you have to learn. Otherwise I'll become a magician and I don't do any magic. I think I'll stop. It's nearly 4 hours. I'm just covering Caroline. Caroline is busy somewhere else at the moment. You get enough of me on Thursdays.
Oh, I can jump in now and then and listen to you, my darling.
Hey. So I hand over you, I'm finished.
Actually, you have to give me 15 more minutes. Then you can hand it over back to me.
15 more minutes. We are finished. It's 8 o'clock.
Mr. Keshe, we never have enough of you.
No, of course not. There's so much to learn.
Yes, exactly.
But we gotta leave enough left over for next time is the thing. We can't.
It doesn't finish, that's it.
It's infinity, as the infinity loop. So if you want to stop, it's fine by me, because I need another 5 to 10 minutes before I'm on a stable internet again.
Okay.
So Rick, what is your decision, my darling?
Well, we've already been going 3 hours, 45 minutes, so
Oh, then I'm gonna release you.
perhaps, perhaps we should carry on the next time with whatever enthusiasm you have behind you that you had ready for us. That's
I'll
my
be definitely there next week. Don't worry. And we carry on and we invite Mr. Keshe again to
That
open
was
the
it.
next platform.
The pay is not good enough.
Okay, we'll give you
the,
double next time.
the love and the care is big enough. Don't worry.
Triple.
The
We'll
pay
give
is not good enough. There is more pain than pay here.
That's the problem with this whole planet, actually.
You can inspire so many souls to emanate the light beyond with the beauty and the love and the life and the care. And they're all getting inspired by you, Mr. Keshe. Don't worry. They all carry you on their two hands and on their soul. So thank you very much.
Thank you indeed. All the best. See you next week. I'm going. When you raise the pay, I appear next time.
Oh, the pay is so good because you get so many kisses and cuddles and hugs and thank yous from every soul who is in contact and know your knowledge. So we're just going to add up and top up a little bit more today.
Thank you very much. See you next time. I'm back on Thursday when my part-time job starts. See you. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Rick, thank you very much for the beautiful teaching and the presentation and all the other crew members, as we call, on the same flight and the same plane to guide this with music and guiding and supporting with the footage we are requesting. I'm going to relieve you from your duty, as we say. I just walked in on time, didn't I, Rick?
Yeah, you've got good timing. Thank you very much. Perfect, Ashley. And as Sylviane says in the live stream, the teachings of Mr. Keshe are the most beautiful gift ever received. Thank you so much. It's a good way to end, I think.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe and Caroline. And I am present in all your abilities to change things. Because I realize now we have to change and present, in your wish. Because we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for everybody's support. We cannot do it on our own. We have a whole team, and you as knowledge seekers and council members or the rest of what we call the bigger team. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rick, Flint, Vince, Stanley, and all the others which are in the background supporting you.
Yes, very good. And it's like a giant train, and I'm reminded of that story. I think I can. I think I can. Was a story that in the old days about the train that was trying to make it up the hill. But in this case, it's not I think I can, but I can. And that's the difference with this train, I think. I know, in fact. Okay, let's
I think that's a good note to end it on, Rick.
I think I can. No, I can. I can.
We can. We can, and I am that I can, that I am.
And I'm present.
I'm present for that. Okay, I think we'll have our slideshow video. I can play that. I think Flint's not available yet, as far as I know. Okay, so let me put that on. And thank you, as always, everybody, for attending our one nation, one planet, one race for world peace. And it's Tuesday, November 28th, 2017. And we'll sign out with our musical interlude here, as we like to do. Get that. All right, there we go, I think.